You just spent 20 hours on the plane flying to the US. Now you got off the plane and you're walking towards the exit. Then you have to go through immigration. Estimated wait time 2 hours. No! Are you tired of that? Because I am too. And that's exactly why I applied for the Global Entry program. You can apply for Global Entry as a citizen of India while living in the US without traveling to India. Hi, I'm Anisha, and today we're talking about the steps to apply for Global Entry as an Indian citizen living in the US. I completed this process recently and just got approved, so I'll also be sharing my experience and timeline with you. You want to stick until the end so you get all the important tips so you don't make the same mistakes that I made. And before we begin, why don't you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss an update. First, let's talk about what Global Entry is. Global Entry is a program run by the US Customs and Border Patrol that allows faster immigration when you're returning to the US from international travel. Basically, you don't have to go through the traditional immigration lanes and you can exit to baggage claim via these expedited Global Entry lanes. This can save you so much time and energy when you've already spent like 20 hours on the plane. Now, that is a clear benefit if you travel a lot internationally. But this process will involve document submission, background checks, and an in-person interview before you get approved. Currently, the Global Entry Program application costs $100, which gets you a 5-year membership to the program. This fee is non-refundable even if you do not get approved. CBP recently announced that this fee will be going up to $120 in October of 2024. So if you want to apply for Global Entry, I suggest that you do that now. One great thing that you should know is that there are many credit cards that reimburse the Global Entry application fee. Some examples are Chase Sapphire Reserve, Amex Platinum, Capital One Venture X, and similar cards. Once the fee goes up, some credit card issuers like Citi and Chase have already confirmed that they will reimburse the increased $120 fee as a part of this benefit. Either way, I think you should apply for this as soon as possible because this process will take time, especially if you're a citizen of India. Now let's talk about the process itself, the timeline, and my experience. Here are the 4 broad steps that you will need to follow to complete your Global Entry application. Step number 1 is applying for the Global Entry program on CBP website. As a part of this, you will be creating an online account on the Trusted Traveler Portal website. This is where your $100 fee will be due. After you're done with this step, your application will go through several other steps before you're conditionally approved. The conditional approval will come from US Customs and Border Patrol, as you will learn in just a moment. Step number 2 is completing the application with Indian Passport Authority. Since you're applying as a citizen of India, this process is done in India and it is completed by Indian authorities. This step is primarily related to background verification that will happen in India. For this step, you will need to visit Passport Seva portal and create an account there to continue your application. You will do that by visiting the website passportindia.gov.in and finding background verification for GBP by scrolling down here under online services. One important thing to note here, and this is something that confused me a lot, was that the US CBP website will tell you that you need to be physically present in India to complete this process. But when you visit the Passport Seva portal, you will see that there's an option for applicants who are not currently present in India. I will go over this option in detail because this is the option that I chose and completed my process with. Okay, so step 2 continued. You will now be completing your registration on embassy.passportindia.gov.in website as you see here and follow the instructions. Once you create your account and are logged in, you click here on Apply for Background Verification for GEP and enter all your details. After your details are completed and submitted, an application reference number or ARN will be generated. You should keep this information handy for the next step. If this is a lot to remember, don't worry, I got you. I'll be dropping all the key chapters and important links in the description below. This is step number 3. After you're done completing your application on the Passport Seva portal, you will now need to head over to the VFS website for document submission. You will need to go to this website and select either apply by mail or apply by appointment. If you are located close to one of the VFS locations, it may be better to apply by appointment. The fee that you will owe at VFS will be a $25 application fee along with about a $15 service fee that VFS charges. On this appointment, you will be presenting the documents that are listed on your appointment confirmation letter. For accuracy reasons, I'll refrain from listing those documents here because my process was done back in 2022 and the list may have changed. After submitting your documents at your VFS appointment, you'll go into a waiting period while you await your conditional approval by the CBP. This is the unfortunate part because you'll experience long wait times, but try to be patient here. This is just how it works. As your background verification takes place in India, you'll have to wait a little bit until that is complete and both the Indian and the US authorities have communicated with each other to issue you approval. You will not be conditionally approved until all of this happens. And this step number 3 will be complete once you get an email that your conditional approval is complete. I'll be talking about my timeline and experience after we are done discussing all the steps. Step number 4, great news, you've now received your conditional approval. Once you receive your conditional approval, the last step will be to appear for an in-person interview with the CBP officer. You have 2 options to schedule this interview. Option number 1 is to visit your TTP login and find an appointment from there. And option number 2 is where you can appear for an interview without an appointment. However, this option is only available to you at the airport when you're returning from an international flight into the US. Once you exit immigration, you will find a kiosk or signs like this where you can queue up and an officer will call you when it's your turn. And those were all the steps that you'll need to follow to complete your global entry application. It sounds a little overwhelming, but it's really not. The only thing that you need a lot of in this process is patience. Speaking of patience, let's talk about my experience and my timeline. So I started the application process on the CBP website, I think in September of 2022. In October of 2022, I scheduled my VFS appointment. This is where I made a little mistake. When I was on the VFS website trying to complete the application, I ended up paying 2 times because I scheduled an appointment, but I also applied via mail. I think there was something confusing on the website, but make sure you don't do this mistake. In November of 2022 is when the police verification happened. A police officer came to my home in India and asked for certain documents to verify my identity and address. My parents were able to attend to the officer and present all the required documents to him. This was November of 2022. 3 months went by, 4 months went by, 6 months went by, 8 months went by, and nothing happened. For a minute, I thought that something went wrong with my background verification and I will not get approved. But I learned from several other people who had applied around the same time that this is just how long it takes. So don't worry if you don't hear back within a few months. If you are really concerned, then you can try to reach out to the VFS people and the CBP folks via email, and they may be able to help you out a bit. But in my experience, they just send generic replies. And then lo and behold, it was February of 2024 when I received the TTP email that my status had changed. And obviously, I logged in instantly to check what it was. And I was conditionally approved. Yes. From there, I just went on to schedule an appointment because I did not have any international trip planned at the time. I was able to find a lot of appointments on EWR's Global Entry Enrollment Center. Wow, that's a mouthful. You should also know that I ended up rescheduling my appointments about 2 times because things got busy and I could not make those appointments. And it was all okay. I was able to find more appointments rather easily. On the day of my appointment, I had to wake up early and drive to Newark Airport, which is in New Jersey. I aimed to reach around 15 minutes before the designated time. The Global Entry Enrollment Center at EWR is located on level 1 of Terminal B arrivals. Parking was easy. Just follow the signs for Terminal B short-term parking, and the lot that you park at is just across the street from the terminal. Once you get on level 1, you can keep walking to the left and you will find global entry signs at the back by baggage claim belt number 1. There is a waiting area here and you can just go take a seat there. There was no check-in required and there was no person standing there to answer any questions really. So, well, yes, just go take a seat and wait for your name to be called. I had to wait around 15 minutes when my name was called along with 6 to 7 other people. Once I was called by the CBP officer, I was asked to present my driver's license for address proof. They did not ask for my immigration document, the I-797A, but I had a copy of it handy just in case. I was asked questions about my employment and criminal record, and that was it. The officer told me that I was approved and I will be receiving my global entry card in the mail in 2 to 3 weeks. I did not have my card, but I knew that I was fully approved, so when I was arriving into the US recently, I went through the global entry lanes and got my picture taken without it asking to show the card. And the next step was to exit the lane where an officer asks you if you have anything to declare. And if you don't, you're all set to head to baggage claim. And that is how easy it is. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you now feel ready to apply for the Global Entry Program. If you found this video helpful, a huge favor would be to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions about my experience or anything else, leave them below in the comments. And once again, why don't you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you would like to support my channel, I've also dropped some credit card referral links and free resources in the description below. Do check them out. Happy travels!